Let's talk about some Shohei Ohtani, guys, because at this point it is a problem. And I'm going to sit here and preface with no one is actually concerned about the long-term longevity and production of Shohei Ohtani. But right now it has not been good. Dodgers overall not been good, especially their offense. That starts at the top with their leadoff hitter. Going into play Monday, the Dodgers kicked off a 4-game set against the Giants at Dodger Stadium. Here's Shohei Ohtani's line over the last 25 games. He's hitting 212. 337 on base percentage, a 318 slug, just one homer. And that was before he went 0 for 5 with 2 punch outs against the Giants. So, yeah, it has not been good. And there's a lot that goes into this with Ohtani, whether it's the slump to start the season that's carried over. We know he's balancing two-way responsibilities for the first time since signing that mega contract with the Dodgers. The Dodgers have tried to work in some rest days for him because, let's be honest, it is very taxing doing two-way things. But when you look at these numbers, this just is not who Shohei Ohtani is as a pitcher, or as a hitter, excuse me. And we kind of saw for yesterday, he came out. We know Ohtani doesn't really like to take batting practice on the field, but he did so for the third time already this for the Dodgers, and it didn't even look good then. So clearly this is a guy who does not feel comfortable at the plate right now. The numbers reflect that. We talked to manager Dave Roberts after the game on Monday, and he said, to paraphrase, it just looks like Ohtani is trying to swing out of it. Guys, usually when players do that, it sets them back. So Dodgers need him to produce, but Ohtani, I think, needs to take a step back and try to find some sort of production that will allow him to find better numbers at the top of the order, because right now it's just not working.
We heard little snippets from Dave Roberts, but you're there daily. Did he expand on any of what he's talking about Shohei? The one day he said, I just didn't like the body language, or I didn't like the swings. They didn't look good. Has he said, like, Shohei's saying his legs are tired, or it looks like his legs are tired? Is there anything that gives you an idea of what Dave Roberts is seeing?
Yeah, that's a good question. And Dave Roberts hasn't really expanded on any fatigue. Ohtani, when we're able to talk to him, also has said the same. To me, it just looks like a guy who is trying to swing out of it. And in the beginning, in April, although the production wasn't really backed up from the slugging percentage standpoint, he was reaching base. He was drawing a lot of walks. He had some productive outs. So you can, when you're a hitter, kind of take some silver lining in that. But as Dave Roberts pointed out yesterday, Ohtani has stopped doing that. He hasn't been walking. The walk rate's down. He's pulling a lot of balls, weak ground balls to the pull side. Just the quality of at-bats are indicative of someone who just does not feel right in the box. And he's going to have a day off from hitting either Wednesday or Thursday. Dave Roberts said Ohtani will start Wednesday against the Giants on the mound, but just try to incorporate some rest days and really get Ohtani right. Because as we've seen throughout the Dodgers collectively 1 through 9, that entire top of the order is really scuffling, and that starts with him. The good news is for the Dodgers is that it's not fatigue. It doesn't seem to be fatigue, at least. It's just more of a mechanics not feeling right, probably an adjustment to going back to two-way duties, but it certainly doesn't make it any easier. Ohtani is the catalyst at the top of this lineup. They could really use him, especially with guys like Kyle Tucker not really hitting the way that they thought. Freddie Freeman starting to come out of it a little bit. They've been without Mookie Betts for a month. He just now came back. That whole top of the order is being paid hundreds of millions of dollars to produce, starting with Ohtani, and that just has not been the case over the last 3 weeks offensively.
Thank God for Andy Pages and Dalton Rushing.
And Max Muncy, your 3 guys carrying that.
Although Max did get robbed. Did you see Max get robbed the other day? And then he was like, oh, and the guy jumped into the fence.
Yeah, who was that?
Eli White? Eli White.
Eli White. Yes,
Eli White almost lost his face. Robbing
Dude
Max.
got a concussion, but got you out.
That's true. He got a concussion. Yeah. 11 homers, though, for Max. He leads the team.
Max is doing it.
He's balling.
Them goggles got him right. Them rec specs he's got him right.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, what about another guy? I don't read your article, so I don't know what you wrote, but you wrote – I did read one of your articles. We'll get into that later. But Roki Sasaki, the Dodgers are focusing not on his present but on his future, but the Dodgers are probably the only team that could do this. What's going on with Roki? He's looked better, right? He has looked a little bit better.
Yes. Thank you for humbling me, AJ. I appreciate that. It's one of your most consistent traits. If you read the article, though, you would know what the Dodgers are looking at with Roki Sasaki and his long-term development. They preach this patience, every fan's favorite word, and continued progress with Roki, and there has been no plan to remove him from the starting rotation. Although over the last 3 starts, they have been incrementally better, and we've been starting to see tangible evidence of Roki trying to come into form. So what exactly are the Dodgers looking for? I talked to President of Baseball Operations, Andrew Friedman, about the importance of making sure Roki is adjusting to the quality and caliber of major league hitters. They don't believe that he can learn anything about his arsenal and his pitch mix in AAA because, frankly put it, there's such a wide gap in talent from AAA to the majors now. That gap in talent is bigger than ever. And if Roki Sasaki is going to figure out what it takes to succeed at the big league level, he has to figure out what works and what doesn't here in the majors, even if it comes at the cost of maybe not putting the best, most effective 6 starters in your rotation when Tyler Glasnow comes back from the IL. Now, what are the Dodgers looking at for Roki in terms of change? Well, what made him so successful in Japan was the fastball forkball combo. Now that fastball sat 100, and that forkball was not even close to the kind of forkball that we're seeing from him now. Those pitches don't play as effectively in the majors, and to combat that, there's a couple of things. It is the adjustment to the major leagues. It also could be the adjustment to the ball. The ball is smaller, easier to grip, easier to command, easier to spot in Japan, which makes dotting the fastball and the forkball much easier in theory. Roki Sasaki has not been able to show that both the fastball and the forkball can play in the majors as they did in Japan. That fastball is now sitting 97, and we know that he's had to incorporate 2 variations of the forkball, the new one being more of a traditional splitter. He's also added in a slider in an attempt to kind of mix up his arsenal, because if he can't use the fastball forkball speed combinations to keep opposing hitters off, he needs to be able to kind of throw essentially the kitchen sink at hitters and vary speeds that way. So adding an arsenal, Kratz, AJ, you both know this as catchers, like it's difficult to find out the best pitch mix without a little bit of trial and error. And as Roki continues to add pitches into his arsenal throughout the early part of the season, figuring out when to use them and where to use them to different hitters is part of the learning process. So it's all a matter to say that there are several factors going into Sasaki's development. The Dodgers are okay having him develop at the major league level for now because they believe the long-term payoff is going to be worth the short-term struggle that we're seeing. Although, in fairness to Sasaki, it has been much better over his last 3 starts.
He also faced the Giants, who stink at hitting, so there's that. But it helps. So he's rehabbing against the Giants. I get that. But didn't we hear this story in spring training? Hey, he's got to add that cutter slider thing. Had they completely disbanded that because now all of a sudden, he changed his forkball, which he was holding more like this, to more of an orientation of a splitter? Are they throwing stuff up against the wall because they have the ability to have an extra pitcher? They have the ability to say, you know what, we're going to win a lot of games. And you said that they don't want him to go to AAA to work things out. At some point, people are going to be healthy. At some point, he's clearly the worst starter in their rotation. Is the move then back to the bullpen where he had success in the postseason, but he also kind of hamstrung them a little bit, and they got relieved by starting pitchers who stepped in because he couldn't throw on back-to-back nights like other relievers could?
It's not right now. And the reason for that is because the injury ramp up, if you are all of a sudden built out to start and you go back to the bullpen, the injury risk, it's exponentially higher if they need him to bulk back up. Starting pitching is the #1 thing in demand for teams across the league. It's why the Dodgers are one of the reasons why the Dodgers are so good, because it seems like they have an abundance of starting pitching in their minor league system. You look at some guys like Emmett Sheehan and Justin Robleski fighting for their spot on the rotation. Well, they'd be most teams' #3 starters, if that. But for Roki, again, the Dodgers could change their mind when we get closer to the postseason, because as we saw, you really only need 4 starters tops in those postseasons, 3 in the early rounds. And that's where Sasaki could really shine and help them come September. But this is May, guys. And the Dodgers believe that this is the best course of action, again, for the long term of Sasaki's career. Finding and developing starting pitching continues to be one of the hardest things you can do in the game. So the Dodgers aren't simply going to punt on who they believe could be a superstar in the rotation, even if Sasaki isn't showing that right now. And it's a difficult thing for fans specifically to understand, because Dodgers fans have been conditioned to expect a 3rd straight World Series title. The Los Angeles Dodgers are not a team that goes out and says, hey, we're going to maybe not put our best starter on the mound tonight because we want to win games in the future. That's not what the Dodgers do. But it's a special case here because of who Sasaki could be in his high ceiling. I mean, he had one of the highest pedigrees coming over from Japan. So special case, special circumstances. I think what the Dodgers are asking their fans to do is it's difficult because it goes against almost everything else that they have been preaching for the last several years. But to give Sasaki a little bit of patience, because the last thing Andrew Friedman wants is for this dynastic run to end. And in order for large market teams to continue to find success like the Dodgers have been, you have to be able to supplement your core with your spending. And going out there and being able to build up and grow Sasaki as a starter is going to help them in the long run. So again, it comes down to short-term sacrifices. They're not going to send him to the bullpen. They're not going to send him to AAA. They don't think that they can find anything there for him to grow and develop on. Maybe come September, we're talking about Sasaki as a reliever because that's where he's best suited. But right now, the Dodgers are playing the long game. We talk about load management. That doesn't just refer to injuries. They certainly are looking at the big picture for Sasaki, even if it makes the short-term understanding a little bit frustrating.
Kratzy, real simple, man. When you're looking for the best seats available, where are you headed, big dog?
SeatGeek, super easy because they give us everything you need. You can look at you can look at where you're going to be sitting. I got to sit at a certain spot. I want to be able to see the whole field. I don't need to be close to the field. Got to be a little higher, out of the sun. I'm bougie that way.
Of course you are. And guess what? You have a big family and so do I. So you have to decide right away. You got to do something quick. This is real simple. It's affordable and it's fantastic for a big family like yours and mine to get seats available as soon as possible. Oh, no, yeah. You need a code? I got that for you too. You can use code Territory10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% of any tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. Thank you, SeatGeek.
The one conspiracy theory that gets bantered about here in Foul Territory is, do you think also some of the decision is, you know what? We also want to make our organization look like an organization that continues to develop or bring over the best Japanese talent. Is there any whisperings of that in the clubhouse or whisperings of that in the front office where it's like, hey, a Japanese star comes over, we want to make sure we treat them the way that we want, hey, everybody else continue to come to the Dodgers organization?
You know, I can understand that sentiment. I really can. And I think there's maybe some validity behind it. But I think what's more, if we're going to go into like the makeup of players, is the Dodgers have worked really hard to earn the trust of Roki Sasaki. And it's been a two-way street. Last year, he came over and he spent most of 2025 on the injured list. And the Dodgers didn't really get a chance to communicate with Roki. And we saw that. It's not, I wouldn't blame the organization. I wouldn't really blame the player. It's just two sides coming over from two completely different worlds and trying to figure out the communication tactic. They have worked extensively to get Roki to trust them. It was Roki who approached pitching coach Mark Prior and said, I want to change my forkball grip to a more traditional splitter grip. And Mark Prior said, that's great. Let's work on it together. If you send a message to Roki and send him down to AAA, does that, I'm not saying it does, I'm speculating and questioning, does that impact his trust in the organization? To be clear, I believe the Dodgers when they say that the best thing for Sasaki's development long-term is at the big league level. Everything they have said makes sense from a logistics standpoint and the stats standpoint. But there is also something to be said about the makeup of a player. Can Sasaki handle a demotion? That's something worth questioning because we all know how much effort it took for the two sides to start talking and trusting each other. Roki's in a much better place now. He's worked hard to get there. So have the Dodgers. You risk burning that relationship or taking a step back if you demote him without giving him every possible chance to succeed at the major league level. And I think that's part of the reason why the Dodgers are committed to doing so.
They demoted him last year. He came back just fine, Katie. Just saying. I know you're on the Cardinals beat. They demoted him last year. He was in AAA.
He was hurt.
He was in AAA. Yeah, he was hurt. He was hurt. Like Glass now is hurt for Snell.
Real conspiracy.
It just happens to. By the way, that degree from where is that? Southern Rhode Island University. Is that a fake degree over your shoulder?
James.
Well, it's an Arizona State degree, so kind of. Just kidding.
Let me guess.
Wow. Shots fired.
She wasn't kidding. It was a mail-in. It was a mail-in one.
Cronkite School is good.
It's bigger than AJ's college degree.
That's right.
We have the same one.
AJ, we can fight. We got a game coming up together, I think. After my wonderful spotlight on you, we're going to treat me this way on the show. Incredible.
Yes, that's what my next question was going to be about. I don't even know Kratz read that article about Dalton Rushing and how Katie had to call me, and she goes, does this is one of the questions. Does this reputation of Dalton Rushing that you had your whole career ever go away? And I go, well, I haven't played in 10 years and you're still freaking calling me, Katie. So you answer the question for me.
Respect.
If it ever goes away.
Love and respect.
And it's your fault, Katie. It's your people's fault. It's the writers. You guys write bad stuff about AJ. He is a good person. There is nothing that he ever did that made him be that you guys wrote about him. Stop doing that.
That's right. I've never said that. I have never said that, for the record, by the way.
I'm saying that.
Never said that. But I will say this. I did want to ask you about it. The teammates in the article that he wrote, and if you guys haven't seen it, he wrote an article about Dalton Rushing and about how he's kind of getting this reputation of not being the nicest guy, which some of us have had to live through, and I understand it, and I'm fine with it. But his teammates really seem to have his back, and that was a big thing in that article. I mean, heck, you could ask Freddie. Freddie dealt with me for 2 years, so he already knows how to deal with this problem, right? I mean, Mookie, I played with Mookie for a while, so he knows how to deal with this problem. But they seem to really understand him, and they've tried to help him. Has he gotten any better since your article came out? Has your article changed his life, Katie?
Life-changing journalism, just really ahead of the industry here at The Athletic. No, I think it's a good point. Let's talk a little bit about Dalton Rushing and the perception of him in April. He was a little bit of a viral moment all month long. But I think, one, when you play for the Los Angeles Dodgers, fans just are going to hate you. And it's hard to find guys that are hateable on the Dodgers because you have like Freddie Freeman, you have Ohtani, you have Yamamoto. These are all guys that play the game well, they play the game right, and they're easy to root for. But they play for the Dodgers, so 29 other fan bases are like, why we want to hate someone. Dalton Rushing is the type of player where if he's on your team, you love him. And if he's not on your team, you hate his guts. And we're seeing that, especially over the last couple months or the last couple weeks with some, again, viral moments that picked up maybe the not most favorable things that he's ever said. But what is important is how he's perceived in the clubhouse, at least in Dodgerland. And I think the way that Miguel Rojas and Freddie Freeman in that story described why they like Dalton Rushing and why they want him to succeed so much goes to show the way Dalton Rushing acts is only a problem if his own clubhouse sees it that way, and they don't. They want to make sure Dalton Rushing stays on the right path. I think Freddie Freeman, I'll quote him, used a perfect analogy when he said it's like throwing up bumper lanes in a bowling alley. They just want to keep Dalton Rushing on track, but they don't want to take away that competitive edge that makes him the type of player that he is. Dalton Rushing, at his core, wants to win, and he's done an incredible job of accepting for the first time in his career that he's going to be a backup catcher. He's not going to get everyday playing time, and he has to change his approach now he comes to the field every day and how he prepares, and he's done so. And his clubhouse has embraced him. There's going to be learning moments along the way, but you guys can attest to this. As long as your clubhouse has your back and isn't tired of your antics, you can act however you want. The Dodgers are committed to making sure that Dalton Rushing can play authentically because that's what makes him good, but also maybe tone down the viral moments because they don't always paint him in the best light. I certainly understand why fans from other teams might not like him, but at the end of the day, what matters is that he's liked in the clubhouse. They actually, I think I saw a clip on Twitter with Shohei where they have a little handshake and it looks like at the end, Shohei Ohtani is like zipping his lips a little. I thought that was hilarious. I'm alluding to what that means. Another thing that I just goes to show about the clubhouse is after a series in St. Louis, Dalton Rushing punched out to end the game. He comes down the dugout and he like kicks the air out of frustration. And the next day, the Dodgers launch a kicking celebration where Freddie Freeman said they're just simply kicking out the bad energy. But I see a little bit more of a correlation there. So AJ, you know this. If your clubhouse has your back, that's what matters. And that seems to be the case for Dalton Rushing here.